Hello, legends, and welcome to Blunt Force Healing Podcast, episode 372. In this short episode, I'll just summarize what happened today and quickly give you an insight to upcoming stormy days that I call them, which is the very risky days which carry the possibility of me not fulfilling the daily blogging and daily podcasting situation or the actual blunt force healing project. So today, uh, very early in the morning, it was quite surrealistic because we had a couple of solid downpours of rain. It felt like waterfall outside of the window, uh, and we were expecting the day to be very rainy, but for some reason, uh, despite us expecting and the weather forecast that it might be very wet, the morning was sunny and very nice, and it continued throughout the day with a bit of wind. It gets windy at the moment, but it's dry, and the temperature is also very nice. So immediately after dropping Julian to school, we went straight to Murvak Beach with my wife and get our daily walk. And I used that opportunity to shift my lunchtime and then work throughout lunchtime normal hours instead, because you never know in Ireland, especially on the west coast, when that good weather stays or not. So seeing this sunny weather, we decided to give it a go and straight away use that opportunity and have our walk. If you hear a little bit of noise, apologies for that, but my laptop went crazy. I don't know why is it cooling at this stage so much, but I need to record it as fast as possible because there's still a lot of things to do before tomorrow's departure. For those of you that don't know, at the moment we are preparing to fly to Poland for at least, well, 3 days. These two massively busy days, because the first day will obviously be long drive to Dublin Airport tomorrow morning, then the departure, etc., then the flight and the drive to my parents-in-law, where we will just have a short night's sleep and jump into the car pretty much the next morning. Not super early, but early enough to drive another 3.5 to 4 hours to Wrocław, down in South Poland, to get my wife to the clinic for treatment that we managed to book despite all odds not helping us to satisfy this requirement here in Ireland, where we were expected to wait about 6 or 7 months to get her admitted for the injection. And here we are. Private care in Ireland is also a little bit protected, so you need to have referrals, and it's very limited. But in Poland, we have abundance of private doctors, and you don't require any referrals as long as you have means to pay for that healthcare. Then obviously it will be provided to you. Of course, it's still possible to get, better or worse doctors, but at least you have that ability to work or kind of act immediately, and this is what we needed because her symptoms got really bad. Today it was quite unique because, well, there's one highlight of the day that I want to talk about, and some people would say I shouldn't maybe talk about it, not only because of family thing or sensitive stuff, but also the fact that my son is involved. But I said that this blog and podcast will be very authentic. It's really straightforward, and I'm not going to you know, of course I will leave out some details that are not necessary for people to know, but this particular situation is a lesson learned for myself and our family, as well as might be a flag to watch out for others that have kids or might have kids in near future, because we know that the problem of the global problem of racism in different forms, not only towards the people of color, but the other way around towards white people as well. In general, racism is about race. It doesn't matter what color you are, if it's white, black, you know, yellow, or whatever colors we try to segregate. We are all people, and we all deserve respect, and we all should be treating each other with respect. Of course, as long as we all live the life, not impacting others in a bad way, because of course there are extremes where, and it's regardless of race, it's within the same race that people live the way that they harm each other. But in general, the goal of no racism or anti-racism is to educate people and make sure that we all live together. We all have certain differences, cultural and origin based, but we can live in kind of relative harmony and understand that those differences will exist, and they actually make that interaction or that living together more colorful and beautiful. I said colorful, pun intended, because it is. It's the whole idea and uniqueness of our existence on Earth is that diversity of different races, different cultures, different origins, and it should be embraced rather than used to divide us. And of course, my son Julian is brilliant boy in terms of he's not only a smart kid, but he understands that all people are to be respected, and regardless how you look, even if you might not be the first thing that comes to your head as normal, because some people are raised in only, let's say, white neighborhoods, or maybe in certain cultures, and then when somebody comes of a different race or color or different culture, they are immediately very visible, very recognizable, very different, and that sometimes causes friction or causes actually interest of one culture against each other, and that interest can be perceived as racism while it isn't. It's because we never came to a contact before, and we are kind of, we need to get to know each other, and finally get that harmony going. But some people kind of turn it to animosity and aggressiveness, or kind of using that difference to pick on people, which is bullying, racism, whatever you call it, depending on what factors come into play. And Julian is obviously one of those kids that don't really care what background you have, how do you look, etc. He will play with you, he will talk to you, he will help you out. And but also there is another aspect of so-called racism, which is not racism, which is jokes, dark humor, or that comedy environment where you are allowed, or well, you're not allowed. You basically know that whatever somebody says that sounds like racism is not. And the key point is for that environment that the people in there, for example, at the comedy show, they know what to expect. They know that each and every so-called bad wording or phrasing or sentences are not opinion of the comedian, but they are jokes based on some superstitions or some stereotypes to have fun, to be able to release that kind of I don't know how to describe it, but some questions are within us and we are afraid to express them because we might be perceived as racist, or there are observations of different things that we might be accused of being racist if we express them in a normal environment. But comedy and dark humor allows us to express them without being judged and without being perceived as a racist, because we are not. We can just say things, have fun together, regardless of color, and this is that harmony where there might be a black comedian joking about white people that are in the audience, and it's perfectly fine because it's not his opinion about those people. It's just a joke, it's part of the fun, and then afterwards we all can hug, have photos, talk normally because we are respecting each other. And Julian understands that too. Kids at school tend to do those tough jokes, I would say, or hard jokes. Sometimes they are not jokes at all. They push the line a lot, and we all have been there probably when we were younger. And we don't know when we cross that fine line because we are yet to understand or learn those things. You can transfer a bit of that knowledge to kids, but part of understanding and getting used to no racism, or kind of differentiating the fun and jokes between the reality and normal circumstances, is learning them by yourself. And while kids in the background, behind the back of parents and teachers and principals, they say very cruel jokes sometimes to each other, and this is fine between them. Sometimes they have an idea of, oh, we pick on each other, he said something bad, let me snitch on somebody and tell it to a teacher. And this is exactly what happened to Julian. He has a couple of friends of different origin, and they say a lot of cruel things against each other, both, people of the darker skin to whites and whites to darker skin, and they are great friends. They play football, they have a lot of fun together, and they play games online, but they still have that ease of saying things that we adults probably wouldn't say. And once in a while, they don't understand the repercussions of exposing those things outside of their environment. And when somebody, like in this situation, snitched on, well, I use the word snitch, but it's also a little bit fun because, the intention wasn't behind it to cause Julian trouble, but one of the boys said something about what Julian said to the externals, sorry, like teacher or principal. And of course, for kids, it's just a joke. So the principal will say something, will punish the boy, and they have fun later on. But in adult world, it's more complicated, and kids don't understand it. So then the principal has obligation to contact both parents of both children and inform about that situation. Not only act on the kid, but inform that to the parents, and parents may actually act on it depending on how severe it was or how they feel about it. And that also causes a lot of complexity around it, and dangers in going to court or potentially having some repercussions like suspension at school or expelling. So I already said that to Julian multiple times, and he knew about it. But I think what he lost awareness of was to not trust people around you unless you know that you're, let's say, in a comedy show, or you're in the environment that you are very close with, like, let's say, at home, where we know that we are tolerant and we respect each other, but then also we know that we can joke about anything and nobody will snitch or express it outside to cause harm to each other. But in school or any other environment, while we trust each other as friends or colleagues, there are different types of people, and some people might find it fun or get offended and actually seriously treat it and expose you for a joke and make it a serious matter. So the repercussion may be severe and they may cause a lot of troubles in life. So that's what happened. Principal called me today. We had a nice chat because she's a very understanding woman. She first also spoke to children, got their version. Obviously, they were transparent and they said that it was a joke, even that snitching was a joke. So they weren't aware that this will cause that much kind of smoke, but it caused. So the kid's parent was informed. I was informed. I said that this won't happen again. It was obvious mistake, and principal was really surprised because Julian's one of those kids that you really can rely on and are always behaving properly, never cause any trouble. They are smart and very communicative as well as social, so there were never troubles with him. So there was obviously a thing that principal need to do to highlight the fact that he did something wrong, but he wasn't punished as he would if he were not transparent or not cooperative. So it was just less privileges, I would say, during the break time or something like that. But I offered my apologies as well. Of course, had a chat with Julian. Julian understands the problem, and we also offered to talk to the parent of the children and have a coffee or a tea to sit down and understand each other, that there is respect, massive respect between our nations and us as a people, regardless of where we are from, and that this was just an innocent joke turned into something racial, which shouldn't be. So yeah, that's pretty much the highlight of today. I will be finishing now because we have already 18 minutes and I need to shave myself. As you can see, I look like a yeti at the moment, and we need to pack things up, and it's already 6:33 p.m. So not enough time to waste. I still need to prepare the dinner, so I'll be heading to the kitchen shortly as well. And yeah, that's it. I guess expect my update tomorrow, and this will be a difficult one because from the very morning up until the very evening we will be on the road. We are expecting to be around 7-8 p.m. at home, so I'm not sure how I will manage to write the post and also record the podcast, but I have an idea how to sort it smartly. I might pre-record something on the plane or somewhere in the waiting room. We'll see. And also I can write notes or things like that in a draft form, so it's easier to edit and publish later on. For the time being, thank you very much for coming up, listening to that. If you have any feedback and you would like to comment on what I said, please do. I am always available on both YouTube and any other channels. For time being, stay safe, stay respectful to each other, make sure to tune up tomorrow, and have a great rest of the day, afternoon or evening, regardless, wherever you are in terms of time zone, and see you in the next episode tomorrow.